Back on August 8th, 2014, Scott Cawthon released Five Nights at Freddy's, a point-and-click survival horror game that proceeded to literally cause the internet to explode overnight.
Hello everybody, my name is Markiplier and welcome back to
The game rocketed in popularity and was an instant hit, with many popular YouTubers playing it and proceeding to scream their own asses off.
Don't you bitch!
Scott, being the real ultimate opportunist, sorry Edge, would produce 3 more FNAF games over the course of the next 11 months. Now, while I can sit here and question how Scott was able to mentally handle producing 4 horror games in under a year without collapsing out of exhaustion and peer pressure, what I'll instead say is that by doing so, the popularity of the franchise went from normal to nuclear. One slight problem that people were starting to have with the franchise was that, well, the games were all very similar. Now, don't get me wrong, all of the games looked and played very differently from one another, granted. But the main issue was that the gameplay loop always circled back to, the animatronics are at point A, you're at point B, don't let them get close. FNAF 1 through 4 all worked like this, and considering that Scott pumped all of these games out in less than a year, fans were starting to become exhausted. They wanted an alternative to the classic gameplay formula of FNAF while still keeping the charm of the franchise intact, which Scott attempted to deliver on, promising a new and diverse take on FNAF. And then he released FNAF World. Why did anyone think that this was a good idea? Due to the polarizing reception that FNAF World was received with, many fans were left disappointed and frustrated. But then, all of those same fans remembered something. Game Jolt exists. Freddy's fans flocked to Game Jolt to try and find an alternative to the standard FNAF gameplay formula themselves, and while they would be greeted by games such as Five Nights at Candy's, the want for a new, unique take on the formula still remained. Then, on June 26, 2016, the world of FNAF fan games would be rocked by a new game that answered all of the above prayers. A game simply known as Popgoes. Popgoes was conceptualized by Kane Carter, who created the final game alongside all of these people. That's more names than I have friends. The game immediately proved to be popular with FNAF fans, as it quickly gained traction across all of Game Jolt and even YouTube, garnering praise from every conceivable angle, especially for its gameplay. So, is Popgoes the revolution that many fans claimed it to be back in 2016, or has this game aged poorly over the last 7 years? Whoa, stop. 7 years. 7 years! Fuck, we're all getting old. The game opens up with a warning about it being old and outdated. Now, I'm not even 10 seconds into this game, and this one screen alone has me worried. We get to the main menu and... Now this is creepy. If you've ever heard me talk about music in my other videos, you know that I'm a sucker for music that sets the mood of the setting you're about to enter. Here, the music immediately sets the tone and draws you in, which is exactly what the main menu music for a game should do. It's just a shame, then, that this game's menu is making me want to close the entire application out of genuine fear. Ah well, guess it's time to bite the bullet, gotta swallow my fear, and play this game. We load into our office, and immediately, we're given a lot to work with. We have a phone that allows us to view the cameras, a secondary event camera that's starting to give me FNAF 3 flashbacks, and even a window. And if we look up, we can see... Oh, hell no. We can even turn a full 360 degrees while we're in the office, which is cool, I guess, given the... Oh, God, no! Unlike basically 99% of FNAF games, which put you and the animatronics on opposite ends of the building, this game opts to have the killer robots start behind you. Let me repeat that. The robots start behind you. How am I supposed to stop them exactly? Do I get up and run from them? I will say though, these animatronics look creepy as hell. They look a lot more plastic than the original FNAF animatronics, yet still manage to have that uncanny vibe to them. Reminds me of the Otherworld variants of the characters from Coraline. They look so close to what you know, yet managed to look so different to the point where it gives you the heebie-jeebies. After we're done marveling at these creepy-looking Funko Pops, we receive a call from a man simply known as Fritz, who fills us in on the current job situation.
Yes, I know there are a bunch of anthropomorphic plastic animals around you watching you work. Trust me when I say I know how that feels. Your imagination might get a tad bit out of control. Stress does that to you. But don't worry, you're completely safe here.
Yeah, I'm gonna immediately call bullshit on everything this man just said. Literally every time that someone has told me that in the history of ever, across all of FNAF, both official and unofficial, that I was completely safe, this was the immediate outcome.
Oh yeah, one more.
So, I'm not gonna believe you, even for a second the weasel's gone. Well, now I'm dead. Wait a minute, he's not near me. Where is he exactly? What? He's on the opposite end of the pizzeria? Away from me? So, yeah, unbelievably, Fritz was telling the truth. Turns out the animatronics can't actually hurt you in this game. Yeah, I'm as shocked as you are. But that begs the question, if the animatronics can hurt you, what can exactly? Well, that's where things get interesting. See, because the animatronics can't actually hurt you in this game, they work together to build something that can. Throughout the night, Popgoes the Weasel, yes, that's actually his name, the Squirrel Sisters, Sarah and Saffron, Blake the Badger, and Stone the Crow, work in tandem to try and ensure you don't make it to 6 a.m. We'll start by going over the mechanics, and starting off, we have the titular character himself, Popgoes the Weasel. I hate that name so much. He'll leave the main stage and make a break for Cam 4 at the start of the night. From here, he'll attempt to head into either Cam 1, Cam 2, Cam 3, Cam 5, or Cam 6. Once he enters one of these rooms, he'll try to use the 3D printers in them in order to print out an animatronic part. Once he prints out a part, he'll try and bring it to the table behind you in order to lay it down. If he prints out 6 animatronic parts, he'll craft an animatronic known as the Black Rabbit that will come to life and immediately kill you. Don't question it, it's part of a FNAF fan game. In order to stop Popgoes from doing this, you'll need to keep track of him on the cameras, and click the room shutdown button on your phone once he enters one of the rooms with a printer. When this is done, he'll run back out to Cam 4 and reset. Next up is Sarah and Saffron, who both actually act as the one animatronic. They'll abandon the stage at some point during the night and will try to crawl into the air vents. Once they do this, they'll keep crawling until they end up in the vent above your desk. Please and kindly fuck off. In order to stop them, you need to use the laser defense grid that's built into the vents to stop their approach. Next up, we have Blake, who's an intriguing little fella. At random points during the night, Blake will sit at the computer terminal closest to your desk and will try to make you play Simon Says with him. Blake will display a color on his camera, and then you'll have to click the corresponding colored button on your desk. Then you'll have to click the giant yellow badger button. Get it wrong, however, and Blake will hack your phone and lock you out of using it. How does an animatronic designed to take care of children in a pizza parlor know how to hack phones? It's a FNAF fan game, who the fuck cares at this point? Finally, and most intriguingly, we have Stone. Now, Stone is a weird case, because he doesn't actually move, he's literally bolted to the ground outside of the pizzeria. So, how does he try to stop your progress exactly? By giving you a panic attack. Wait, what? Yeah, at random points during the night, hallucinations of Stone will appear on the cameras. If he does this, you'll need to quickly swap to another camera and stare out of the window in order to calm yourself down and stop your panic meter from going into the danger zone. Oh yeah, I should probably talk about the panic meter. Popgoes has a panic meter, which can outright kill you if not managed correctly. You'll gain panic by seeing the animatronics move on the cameras, or if you don't look out of the window long enough. When your panic meter reaches halfway, you'll start to see hallucinations of Stone, which will cause your panic to skyrocket if you don't look away from him. If you want to lower your panic, you'll need to drop whatever you're doing and take a breather by staring out of the window. Failure to do so will result in you dying of a panic attack, which is represented by hallucinations of the animatronics killing you. Now that we have the general mechanics of Popgoes nailed down, what's it like to actually play this game? Honestly, It's a lot of fun! The general gameplay loop manages to avoid the tired old problem that most of the early FNAF games used to have, where you only really needed to check 1 or 2 cameras to see where the animatronics are. In this game, you're required to constantly keep tabs on Popgoes, the Squirrel Sisters, and Blake in order to avoid dying. And with the addition of the panic meter, which forces you to look away from the cameras and gives the animatronics time to move around, which is a literal stroke of genius, might I add, the gameplay of Popgoes is long, drawn out, and tense. You constantly have to keep track of the animatronics across 2 sets of cameras, all while managing your stress both in the game and in real life so you don't bite the bullet early. It can be a bit overwhelming at times, I'll admit, but once you settle into a groove, the game honestly becomes outright addictive to play. And this is coming from someone who absolutely hates horror games most of the time, so earning that kind of praise from me is massive. Despite the amount of praise I've given the general gameplay of Popgoes, I will admit that it does suffer from some jank. Mainly on later nights, the hallucinations from Stone the Crow happen way too often, which can result in you having to constantly stare out of the window in order to keep your panic down, which can give Popgoes and the gang ample time to fuck you over big time. In the time it can take you to stare out the window and decrease your panic, Popgoes will have already printed another rabbit part, the squirrels will have crawled into the vents, and Blake will already be asking you to play Simon Says with him. The hallucinations can go from being scary and unnerving to just plain frustrating on the later nights. And it's not like you can just ignore the hallucinations, because again, if your panic meter goes into the red, it's game over. One too many hallucinations from Stone can essentially result in a snowballing effect where everything hits you at once, and makes it so you basically cannot recover from a bad run. You still can, but it's nothing short of an uphill climb. In between the office sections, you'll get to play some classic FNAF-style 8-bit sections, where you walk around a maze, which is similar to the same minigames in FNAF 3, minus this bullshit. God, swear to God, this still fucking scares me, even after 10 years. The difference here now is that you can stumble across this loathsome fucker while walking around, which never fails to put the fear of God into me. Also, you can find these paper scraps which attempt to explain the story of Popgoes. Speaking of the game's story, I have no idea what the story of this game is. I've tried understanding it, but it's honestly left me more confused than satisfied. So from what I can gather, in Popgoes, you're not actually playing as a security guard. Instead, you're playing as some robot made by Fritz known as Strings, who's supposed to act as some form of scarecrow for animatronics? I think? Turns out, sometime before the events of Popgoes, Fritz accidentally killed his daughter, known as Bonnie, while having a mental breakdown. The soul of his daughter now roams Popgoes' pizzeria and wishes to kill Fritz as a form of revenge. But since she's a ghost, she can't do that. So apparently Fritz programmed the animatronics to try and build her a new body at night known as Black Rabbit to help her kill him? What? But then Fritz made Strings, whose job is to prevent that from happening. So I struggle to understand why he decided to program the robots to kill him in the first place. Oh yeah, and there's this purple guy. No, not that one. No, not the other one either. He literally did not even exist yet. Yes, that one. This guy is called Simon, and apparently he's related to Fritz, and constantly tries to communicate with Strings throughout the game, and it's the only way to get the true ending. However, through my playthrough, I could not figure out how to get the good ending, so if you want to go figure that out for yourself, please do, because I am not doing that myself. Honestly, I have no idea what the plot is supposed to be, or what it's going for, which is technically a good thing considering that this game is no longer canon to the lore of Popgoes due to the soon-to-be-released reboot known as Evergreen, which makes me wonder why I even decided to talk about the plot if it doesn't even matter. Fuck! Overall, Popgoes is a fun attempt at making a FNAF-like game that doesn't follow the classic office style of closed-door, managed power drum we've had to beat for a few years. While it is a little janky in areas, and the story leaves me feeling like how I did when I first watched I'm Thinking of Ending Things, which is confused and more so kind of pissed off that I spent time trying to understand the bloody thing only to leave more confused than before I entered, I had fun with it. You can really tell that the people who made this game really cared about what was being made, and didn't try to slap something together to capitalize on the hype of FNAF. It's just a shame then that in a few months, or whenever Evergreen decides to come out of the closet, this game will be deemed irrelevant due to the existence of its newer, and arguably sleeker, younger brother. But before I go, one last thing. Since when the fuck did Kane Carter play Team Fortress 2?